Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review and talking about Inside Out 2. I've already seen this movie twice in theaters because I absolutely loved it. Holy smokes, if you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen that I rated this 9 out of 10 and I gave the original Inside Out 10 out of 10. So before I start about Inside Out 2, just let me say right off the bat, I obviously absolutely love the first Inside Out movie. It is my favorite Pixar movie by far. For a long time, my favorite Pixar was Monsters, Inc. And then when Inside Out came out, that took its place. I absolutely love Inside Out. I think it is such a beautiful movie. Not only do I think this movie is incredible, but I also think it's a very important movie. I feel like it's a really great representation of emotions, and I feel like it's a really good movie for adults to see, teenagers to see, children to see, because I think it's a really important message. It's normal and it's okay to feel certain emotions. Obviously, in the first Inside Out, Joy is very against anything sadness. She doesn't want sadness being involved in any form of Riley's life. And then in the end, she realizes that it's important for Riley to feel sad. Riley being able to feel sad is what made the ending so perfect and made it so that Riley could explain how she was feeling in a proper way to her parents. I'm gonna cry. I love this movie so much. I think it is such an important movie. I think it is such an important lesson for kids to learn that it is very normal. It is okay to feel sadness and anger and disgust and fear and joy. It is so important to feel all of your emotions, and it's important to express your emotions. There are so many things I love about this movie. I love the very beginning of this movie where there's one single button for baby Riley, and all they do is just press that button. That controls her emotions and stuff, and I just love seeing that it grows as like people grow, because as a baby things aren't nearly as complex as they are as you grow up. So I even love that. Like, I love seeing that this like control panel in Riley's mind grows as she grows. I cry every time I watch this movie during the scene in the pit with Bing Bong. Breaks my heart every single time. I sob my eyes out. Also, fun fact, my sister used Bing Bong's line in her speech at my wedding. At the very end of her speech, she basically said to Sam, "Take her to the moon for me," which is Bing Bong's line to Joy right before he's forgotten. If I wasn't already crying at my wedding during my sister's speech, that definitely like pushed all the tears out. I just love the end because I say all the time when I talk about this movie, I love Joy's growth, and even the fact that when Joy and Sadness got back to headquarters, that all the other emotions were like, Joy, Joy, we need you. We need Joy. But when you think about it, it would make no sense for Joy to go to the panel. It made perfect sense for Sadness to go to the panel and for Sadness to be the one to control everything. Because if Joy had stepped up and tried to control things, and Riley had just like gone home and been like, ha ha ha, I ran away, but now I'm back, it would make no sense. And also it wouldn't have solved anything. It wouldn't have solved any of Riley's feelings that she had towards moving. Up until that point in the movie, up until they were in the pit, Joy thought, no, Sadness, we don't need you. You make no sense being here. I don't know why you're here. I wish you could go somewhere else. It wasn't until Joy was in the pit and realized there were moments in Riley's life where she was happy, but leading up to that happiness, she was sad, and it was other people coming to her and being there for her that led her from being sad to happy. I love that Joy just immediately, when they get back to headquarters, immediately is just like, Sadness, she needs you. And even Sadness is a little like, what? No, I can't do this. And Joy's like, no, it has to be you. And clearly it brought Riley home, and it made things better of Riley being able to express how she was actually feeling about things. And then for Sadness to then have control of things, but then bring Joy into it when things were better. I just love this movie so much. I could literally talk about the first Inside Out for days and days and days, but we're going to talk about the second Inside Out because I think this movie was just as good and just as important as the first Inside Out movie. So as with all of my movie reviews, we'll probably get into spoilers near the end of the video, but I will warn you, of course, when we do get into spoilers for the first bit, this will be completely spoiler free. It was shown in the trailer that Riley gets some new emotions. She's now 13 years old and she gets some new emotions. So the new emotions that get brought in are embarrassment, boredom, envy, and then the most important and prominent character is anxiety. The starring role of the movie was the anxiety, and I feel like so many people are going to relate to the character, or I guess the emotion of anxiety. And I would just like to say right off the bat, I think these movies are so perfectly casted. Pixar and Disney are absolutely brilliant at casting voice actors for all of their movies, and I do know there was a couple changes with this one, but even still, I still think the new people who were brought in to replace other actors did an incredible job. But I just like to say in particular, Maya Hawke was perfection as anxiety. I think Amy Poehler and I think Phyllis Smith, I could not think of two more perfect actors to portray joy and sadness in these movies. Every single character in this movie has the most perfect voice actor to go along with them. And all the new characters brought in, particularly Maya Hawke's anxiety, were absolutely perfection in their roles, and they did such an incredible job. I will say this movie didn't make me cry as much as the first one does, but I still cried. Even the 2 times I watched it, I was crying. Not so heavy as I cried during the first one, because I definitely get extremely teary-eyed, like I said, during the Bing Bong scene, and then I also get really teary-eyed at the end of the movie when Riley returns home. Those are the 2 moments of the movie that really, really, really get me. This movie, one scene near the end in particular, from one part to basically almost the end, was just a steady stream of just like tearing for me. I wasn't ever like sobbing my eyes out like I do during Bing Bong, but it was a very steady, constant stream of tears coming down my face during basically from one part until basically the end of this movie. Like I said with the first one, I think this movie is just so important for kids to see, because especially as kids get older, they do start to develop these emotions, especially anxiety. And I think it's so important for kids to see this kind of movie, because I feel like having like this visual representation of these sorts of things, these emotions, that in no way is there any sort of visual way to represent these sorts of things. There's emojis, there's happy faces, there's sad faces and stuff like that. But I think these movies do such an incredible job of giving you like a really good visual representation of what these emotions look like. And I think they do such a good job of it, that anxiety in particular, they just do such a good job of her plastering on this like fake smile. I feel like that's how people feel when they're anxious, is they try to just like over exaggerate happiness or something to try to portray that they're maybe doing okay when they're maybe not necessarily doing that okay. And I feel like the way they animated anxiety really showed that off. I think it was so well done. Also, I learned that the reason anxiety is orange is because it's been proven that the color orange is the most anxiety-inducing color. I didn't know that. I never knew colors could induce anxiety, but I guess that's why anxiety is orange. It always made sense. Sadness is blue, because people always say like, oh, I'm so blue, because when they're sad, people associate like red with anger. Yellow is a happy color. So it does make sense, like these colors that they've chosen. I just never knew that orange was an anxiety inducing color. And also she just looks like so crazy. Like her hair is all over the place. Like just the animation they did for anxiety was so perfect. And all the other characters are so perfect. Sam and I actually just finished watching the TV show The Bear. And the actress who plays Sydney in The Bear, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but the actress who plays Sydney in The Bear plays Envy in this movie, and I just thought she was so adorable. I love Sydney in The Bear. She is one of my favorite characters in the show, and I was very happy to see that she was in this movie, and I think she did such a cute job. She was so adorable as Envy, and even Boredom or Ennui is so funny. I just love that she, you know, has a phone to control the panel because she can't even be bothered to get up. I love her body shape, that she always kind of looks like she's like bored, but also she's like hunched over, and like a question mark is kind of what I picked up from that. I thought that was really well done. And then Embarrassment is just so adorable and so funny. And I remember Sam whispering to me during when him and I saw it together, because I saw it first with a friend and then I saw it again with Sam. And I remember Sam leaning over to me and whispering that Paul Walter Hauser does the voice of Embarrassment. And at that time it was funny because I knew that Embarrassment has one single line in the movie. So I was like, oh, okay. Embarrassment was still adorable. And I kind of liked that some of the emotions kind of like worked together, like how Fear says to Anxiety, oh, like, we're gonna be friends. And then the entire movie, they're off stuck in long-term memory, and Fear the entire time is like, I bet Anxiety would know what to do. And I liked that Sadness and Embarrassment were kind of friends, and I like that because like those emotions kind of like go together. Your fears can lead to anxiety, anxiety can lead to fears, being embarrassed leads to you being like sad because you're sad about things you were embarrassed about. So I thought that was kind of fun that they were all kind of like buddies. Other things about this movie that I really loved, I loved when they were trapped in her secrets. And I liked that one of her secrets was that Riley still liked a kids' TV show. I thought that was very funny because me, myself, being a 13-year-old and trying to, you know, have friends, I definitely kept locked away in myself that I still liked all of the Disney things. I didn't tell people that I loved Disney so much. I thought it was embarrassing to love Disney when I was 13. And it's kind of funny because as I've gotten older, I have very much embraced those things about myself. Obviously, like, look at this room behind me. Obviously, I don't care if people know that I love Disney. I still love Disney and kids shows and kids movies and stuff. I have absolutely no shame in that. Literally just last week I posted my ranking everything I watched video, and how many movies in that were kids movies, and one of them I gave 9 out of 10 stars to. So clearly I still love kids movies and I have no shame about it. When you're 13, you do, because you don't want to be embarrassed and you don't want people to think lesser of you because you like kids shows, or you have a crush on a video game character, or you like a band that some people may think is kind of like kiddie or lame or something like that. You keep those things hidden when you're like 13 years old. If you stayed for the end credit scene, this is kind of a bit of a spoiler, but not really, because it spoils nothing to do with the movie, but it is the end credit scene. Joy goes back to the vault and tries to get one of the secrets to come out. And I think that kind of shows, like, as you get older, you realize, like, some of these secrets bring me happiness. So you know what? Maybe they don't need to be locked away. That was just my little bit of interpretation about that final scene. Maybe I'm reading way too much into it. Maybe it is just supposed to be a silly little scene at the end of the credits. That's how I took that scene. Maybe you took it another way. Another scene of this movie that I thought was absolutely so powerful was Anxiety basically controlling all the mind workers in Riley's imagination to come up with scenarios of things that could possibly go wrong. Because as someone who does not sleep because I am laying awake all night long with anxiety, with things running through my head, that scene in particular I related so hard to, because oh my goodness, do I lay awake at night just like Riley did, and I just have so many things running through my mind of things that could go wrong. And it's funny because lots of the things that they show are things that, like, let's be honest, will never ever happen. But for some reason, those are just the things that you just can't get out of your mind. Holy smokes, did I relate so hard to that scene. I have literally laid awake at night because I thought we were out of toothpaste. When they were sending in their projections of things that could possibly go wrong, was I like, yep, things like this have been projected into my mind and have caused me anxiety and caused me not to be able to sleep and stuff, just like what is going on here with anxiety, trying to think of every possible situation. But the thing is, with anxiety, she thinks of all these situations, but as we see later in the film, doesn't really have solutions to these things. And I think this is where I will start to talk about the very end of the movie, and I will start to talk about some spoilers. So if you don't want anything spoiled, if you haven't seen this movie yet, this is where I guess I will say goodbye. Thank you for watching. To wrap up my spoiler-free section of this video, I guess I will just say, if you liked the first Inside Out, you gotta go see this movie. It is just as good as the first one, and it is so incredible to watch. Like I said, I think these movies are so important for kids to watch, but even myself, I am 31 years old, and I went to see this movie, and even I think this was an important movie for myself to watch, because holy smokes, do I have so much anxiety about certain things in my life. And to see the way that anxiety is kind of portrayed like this, and I think this was such a beautiful, amazing representation of anxiety. I think it was so well done. And even as an adult, even though I kind of feel like I maybe have a little bit of control over my anxiety, I still think it's so important to watch these movies. I think these movies are so important. They give such a great message. Like I said, if you like the first Inside Out, I think this movie is so good. It really delves into these more complex emotions that we have as we grow older. So highly recommend. If you are cutting out here and you don't want to hear any spoilers, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you later. And now we're going to get into spoilers. So here is your spoiler warning. The rest of this video, I will be talking about the end of the movie and spoiling it. So the new thing with this movie is that they are building Riley's self-identity, and that is based on her beliefs. And a major part of this movie, even at the very beginning of this movie, Joy gets rid of all the bad memories. She sends them all the way back to the very back of the mind, where they're gone and forgotten. And later in the movie, when the emotions get to the back of the memory, they realize how many of these emotions that they have just discarded and gotten rid of. They didn't realize it was so many. And Joy's biggest thing is that she's trying to make Riley so perfect, and she's getting rid of these bad memories, and she's only putting down the perfect memories in order to build Riley's beliefs and Riley's self. But then anxiety comes in and gets rid of this self-identity and builds her own self-identity for Riley, completely based on anxiety, even though she thinks she's putting in all these good things, like, I'm good at hockey, so I'm going to have friends. I can't be friends with so-and-so and so-and-so because then these other people won't respect me. I need to do better, da-da-da. All these things. She thinks she's building this perfect self for Riley, but she realizes when it all comes together into her self-identity, she realizes all Riley is really thinking is just that she is not good enough. All these anxiety-based memories that anxiety has put together to build Riley's self, all Riley really truly thinks is that none of it is good enough, and she is not good enough for her old friends, for these new friends, for hockey, for anything. She is not good enough. And this sends anxiety into a spiral. Before I get into that spiral, that is what we see at the end of this movie. I think another important moment in this movie that I feel like I've heard some people say that they think it's it makes no sense what they did, but who cares? It makes sense in my brain. Basically, the emotions who have been trapped in the long-term memory, joy, anger, disgust, and fear, they're stuck in long-term memory. They go all the way to the back of the mind to get back Riley's self that anxiety discarded. So that's again where they see all these bad memories that they originally discarded. And so what they do is basically they use dynamite. It makes sense when you see the movie, but they use dynamite to set off an avalanche that sends all of these bad memories rushing back to headquarters, which in turn pours all of these bad memories into Riley's belief system, which then creates again this whole new beliefs, this whole new self-identity for Riley, because it's not all these perfectly curated memories that joy or anxiety have put together to build this self. It's all of these bad memories rushing in. Joy, disgust, anger, fear. They get back up to headquarters after all of these memories have been flooded into the belief system. They get back up to headquarters, and we see anxiety going through this spiral of trying to control everything. I was already crying at this point of the movie because there's one scene in particular that really, really broke me. This scene in particular, once they get back to headquarters, it just resonated with me because on the outside, we see Riley having a panic attack and an anxiety attack. And on the inside, we see how this is being portrayed in her mind. And what an incredible visual representation of an anxiety attack. Obviously, like I said, we see Riley having this anxiety attack. We hear her heart beating faster. We see her like trying so hard to catch her breath, because at this moment, not only is anxiety going crazy controlling the panel, but all of these bad memories have literally rushed in and flooded Riley's beliefs. So not only is she going through like this anxiety-induced control, but now all she can think about is all these bad memories that have just suddenly come out of nowhere, and she's just remembering all these bad things over and over and over again. Also, it gives a couple nods to the first movie, but it's not really part of it. I just had to point that out. And just like seeing anxiety, basically an orange tornado going crazy through Riley's mind, trying to control this, and all the other emotions are realizing like what's going on. Like even these new emotions who have come and realize like this is not right, this isn't okay. They're all trying to get rid of this anxiety based self-identity that was created. They're trying to get rid of that. Even when they do replace the anxiety self-identity, when they replace it with the old one, even Joy realizes this isn't right. We can't build Riley off of what we think is right. Riley isn't perfect. And again, this goes back to how important I think this movie is, because I think it's so important for people to know it's okay to not be perfect, and it's okay to not feel perfect. 31-year-old crying over this movie. Oh my god. Just talking about this movie. Oh my goodness. Not only do they get rid of the anxiety-based self-identity, but Joy actually gets rid of the old identity that she had built based on what she thought needed to be there, and getting rid of things she thought weren't good. And now this new self-identity is built on everything about Riley. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything. It's built on the fact that she is a good friend, she is a good hockey player, but she also makes mistakes. Like I said, they show clips of from the first movie, and one of them is when Riley steals her mom's credit card in order to purchase a bus ticket to go back home. All the good and all the bad needs to build Riley's self-identity. And it's just changing and it's forming based on all of these different things. And I think one part of this movie that I thought was so beautiful was every time it changes, you hear Riley's voice saying something based on this, whether it's, I am a good friend, I'm not good enough, I'll never be perfect at hockey, all these things. At one point, it creates a self-identity, and you hear Riley's voice saying, I need help. And at that point, Joy and all of the emotions go, and they surround themselves around the identity. And they just hold it and they hug it. It's at this point outside in Riley's physical body that she finally starts to calm down from the anxiety attack that she's having. Didn't think just talking about this movie was going to do this to me, but look at me. So as I said, I just think this movie is so important. I think it's so beautiful and so important to learn and to see these things represented in such a beautifully visual way, because we know anxiety attacks exist. We know that people have panic attacks. To see a physical representation of this, and when that was happening in the movie, I was like, yeah, that is what it feels like when things are spiraling so out of control. Like, yeah, not just the stupid toothpaste thing that I mentioned, but like feeling so many things all at once and you just have this built up of anxiety. That's what it feels like. And I think it's so important for everybody out there to see this represented, and for younger kids starting to go through things like this. I think it is so important for them to see these sorts of things and realize that this is so normal and it is okay for you to feel these things, and you need to be able to express that this is how you feel, and you need to be able to feel like you can go to someone and tell them that this is how you feel and have the support to be able to talk about these things. These movies aren't just movies for me. These movies are so important, and I think they're so beautiful and so well done, and I'm crying again! The one line that I was mentioning that Joy said that really, 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 truly broke me. I forgot to mention it, but I really wanted to talk about it because, like I said, that's the line that really broke me and just kept the tears going throughout the film. Before they get back to headquarters, they're still on top of this heaping pile of bad memories, and Joy is just hugging the self-identity that she created for Riley. And she's really upset because their one way they thought they were going to get back to headquarters has now been destroyed, so they can't get back to headquarters the way they thought. She's sad. Joy is sad. So the other emotions go to her and they say, like, what are we going to do? Like, what's the plan? And Joy's response is, well, maybe anxiety is right. Maybe we're not what Riley needs anymore. Maybe as we grow up, we just feel less joy. And that line broke me so hard because as happy as I am in my life, obviously things have happened in my whole life from teenager to today as a 31-year-old adult. Things have happened that have really and truly broken me. And I put on a happy face when I film videos, obviously, but things have really broken me. And I'm just happy I have a support system who takes care of me and is there for me when things get really, really dark in my life. When Joy said that, I related to that, but at the same time, I was like, I don't want to not feel joy. And I don't want Riley to not feel joy. That line broke me. That was the moment when I really, really, truly started just crying my eyes out. There was so much of this movie I related to, but I feel like that was the biggest thing, was feeling that it's true that as we grow older, we don't feel as much joy. But I think it's so important to know that it's still so important to feel joy. Yes, we have anger, we have fear, sadness, anxiety, but I think it is still so important that we still figure out in our hearts, throughout whatever way you can, it is still so important to know that you need to feel joy and you deserve to feel joy. And this was supposed to just be a movie review. And look where we're going. These movies are not just movies to me. I think they have such an important message that I think so many people need to know and learn. I just hope one day in the future when I have my own child and I show them these movies, I hope they know that they can always come to me no matter what emotion they are feeling, and I will love them no matter what. I will love them through every emotion that they feel. I will love them just like Riley. They don't have to be perfect. They just have to be themselves. And I think that's the biggest lesson from this movie, is that it is so important to just be yourself. No matter what, throughout all the bad memories, throughout all the bad emotions, you just need to be yourself. And that is the most important thing. I was not expecting to go this deep and this hard when it comes to this movie, but I don't know what else to say. I just kind of started going off, and like I said, I think these movies are so important. I think they're so well done and amazing, and Pixar, thank you for making this movie. Thank you for making both of these movies, because they have significantly impacted my life in their own ways, and I think they are so amazing and I love them forever. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Pixar, for these movies. They mean so much to me. They are such an important part of my life. I can't wait for this movie to come out and watch it again and again and again. And like I said, when I have a child of my own, I can't wait to show them these movies and hope that they understand the meaning behind these movies. And I hope they, obviously, when they're older, get out of these movies what I got, because I was already an adult when Inside Out came out. I'm excited to see these movies with a younger child and see how they interpret this movie and they understand what it means. And I hope they understand that it's okay to have these emotions and stuff. Like I said, I was not expecting to go like that for this video, but if you have watched throughout and stayed to this very point, thank you for watching. And I think this is the first time I've ever like really started tearing up on camera, but that's just where we are, and that's how it is when it comes to this movie and like these two movies in particular, because oh my goodness, I love them with all my heart. Go see Inside Out 2. It's amazing. I love it. It is just as good as the first one. So good. And I feel like this is such a good movie that I feel like anyone can relate to. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Friday and would love to have you here. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.